Welcome to the show, David and Claudia. It's good to have you.
I was 12 and she was 10.
Yes, we were very young when we got married.
Oh my goodness, I've been looking forward to this this interview. You guys are just amazing, and known you for some time, and you guys have written extensively about dating. But I love the premise of your 10 great dates. It's not just about dating; it's actually dating with a purpose. And I wanted to start by asking the question: what is that purpose? What's behind the purpose of dates?
Well, to start off with, the main purpose for dates is to have fun and to connect emotionally. And I think that's what we did before we got married. You know, we enjoyed going out together and talking and doing things together. And somehow when we get married and the kids come along and careers take off, somehow that fun element sort of gets put back on the back burner. And, that happened in our marriage. And so we had to figure out a way to rejuvenate our relationship. And we found that dating was a great way to do that.
It really helps you build your relationship. It helps you be intentional. We can get so busy with our life, and, we all live with this chronic stress. And so one way to release some of that stress is to carve out just a little bit of time that you can have a date with your partner. We work with a lot of young families, Noel, and we tell them, look, your children will wait while you grab some moments to build your marriage, but your marriage isn't going to wait till your kids grow up. And one way to be sure that you have that time to really connect is by planning dates.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, in a society where I think we are the most busy, saturated group of couples around, it seems like that gets negotiated out of the relationship the fastest. This whole idea of dating each other, which is such a huge element. And, this whole purpose behind it, maybe give a little bit of our listeners an idea of when you guys wrote this book. I think you kind of went more in depth. It's not just about the date, right? I mean, that's important, connecting emotionally, but there's a deeper element that you're going after. Maybe give us a couple examples of what that looks like in your guys' book.
Okay, 10 Great Dates. The philosophy behind 10 Great Dates is to help couples not only have fun, but be intentional about building their relationship. So each date is, we even go to the point of telling them where to go, what to do, how to prepare for the date. There's a chapter to read. Then there's a sort of discussion guide at the back, which is, and it even has an executive summary for the person who doesn't have time to read the date itself, and we know who that usually is.
Yes.
So, but anyway, each date has a theme, and it's basically you're learning a skill, something that will help you in your relationship over time. And we've been married a number of years, and we've learned that, we may know a lot of this stuff. We need to know how to communicate and how to process anger and resolve conflict and all that kind of stuff. We know it in our minds, but it's really sometimes hard to apply it in our relationship. And if you're dating and having fun, it makes all the difference in the world. One of our sayings is, fun in marriage is serious business.
We've never met anyone on the way to the divorce court who were having fun together. And so dating is one way to keep that fun going. But in 10 Great Dates, the topics build on each other in that book. It starts with making your marriage a high priority, just carving out that time to spend time together. And then the second and third date are helping you hone your communication skills so that they're positive dates. You're not getting in an argument. And then how do you manage your issues and conflict?
For those who have issues. Of course, we never had any issues, right?
And how can you encourage one another and appreciate your differences? So each date has a theme. And so as the couples go through the dates, not only are they having fun, but they're connecting on a deeper level, and they're really building their relationship. And, when we think of all of the dear people in the military around the world and in churches and communities, we're all just so stressed. And it's so great to be able to take just a little bit of time. You don't have to have a lot of time, but you have to have a little bit of time to focus on each other. And dating is a good way to do that.
I think that's so true about the aspect of focusing on a skill, because there's one thing about going on a date and just having fun, but it's another thing to actually acquire skills that you can apply to your relationship. Because you're right. I mean, so much of the information, we are information saturated, but getting it down here where we're living out of that intentionally is a whole different thing. And maybe let me ask you this question. You guys have done a lot of this with many, many different groups and audiences. What would you say is that one skill out of, the 10 dates that you would say, man, this is one that you've just got to nail. It's so important. All 10 of them, right?
I don't know if we agree on this, but
that's okay. You can have your favorite.
Okay, I think communication.
Yeah.
Because communication, I don't know, at least for us guys, I think communication is harder. It's like with Claudia, it's not that I don't want to listen when she's talking. She just has to get my attention. And so when we go out on that date, we talk about how can I be a better listener? How can I really get behind your eyes and see the issues, the things that are concerning you, see them from your perspective rather than just from my perspective. And going on a date when you're sort of relaxed and looking through the date on communication will give you some skills, some things that you can actually do to help you do that. And it helps me, really listen to Claudia and try to understand, what is concerning her and if I can do something, what that is. Yeah. And not to fix it. I mean, one of the things she's always telling me is, Dave, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you
listen,
to I just want you to feel bad with me for just a few minutes here. Just identify with how I'm feeling, and then we'll go on from there. So, so dating is not only fun, but you're learning some of these skills along the way.
I think one of my can I have two favorites?
You know what? Of course, for you, Claudia, you get two. My
first favorite is date one because that gets you started, and it helps you to focus on each other. And I love the dating exercise we have for the first date. By the way, we have duplicate tear out dating joggers in the back of the book. So it's never more than just tearing out one page. They're fun dates, they're simple, and they're just a catalyst for good conversation. But I love the exercises in date one. The first part of the exercise is taking a trip down memory lane and thinking back to when you first met each other and you fell in love. And as we do this, even in our seminars, we see couples just begin to connect on a deeper level because maybe they're not in a good place right now, but they want to be. And so just thinking back to their own love story helps them reconnect with those positive emotions. And, counselors call this emotional focus therapy. And it really works. And then also on their date, they talk about what's great about us. It's really easy to talk about what we need to work on here. Yeah. But what's great about us? And, what is okay, but could be better? What is one thing I personally could do to make our relationship and our marriage better? And so that's probably my favorite date because it gets you started on a positive track.
So let's put it in more concrete terms. Let's say if you're listening, you say, hey, that's a great thing. We could do that this weekend. So let's just make like three things. What are three things that are really positive about our relationship right now? What are two things that, they're okay, but, we could probably work on, make it a little bit better? And then the last one is, what is one thing I personally could do to build our relationship? And most of us know at least one thing.
What's one thing that's great about our relationship?
I like
it. Relationship. Well, one thing that's great about our relationship right now is we're very flexible, and we really we deal with stress pretty well because we have a lot of humor in our relationship.
Yeah. We laugh together a lot.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Even when things aren't going really well.
Yeah.
So just a clarification. So is it that, is it the design of it is to go in sequential order through the dates, or can they pick and choose and go whichever direction they want to?
In 10 Great Dates, we would suggest going through the order because they build on each other.
Okay.
But in the $10 Great Dates that we'll talk about later, you can pick and choose. But it does build because the first is making your marriage a priority, and then you go into the skills of communication and managing your problems and talking about issues. And you think, how can you have a fun date and talk about conflict? Well, it's because you have the date when you're in the middle of a conflict.
Hopefully.
And so you can be more objective. And we even suggest that's a great date to go to the zoo.
Yeah.
Because we talk about the different animals and how do you handle anger, and who are you like? Like, Dave
I'm
is
a turtle.
definitely a turtle.
I'm a turtle. You know,
Definitely.
if there's conflict in the air, whether it's Claudia or you or whoever, my natural tendency is just to go into my shell and just hope that, whatever it is goes away. And, I'm pretty good at doing that. I'm very comfortable in my shell. But I learned a long time ago that being in my shell, while it may be comfortable, it doesn't solve the problem. And it tends to come, I can't stay in my shell forever, so I have to come out. And so there's Claudia waiting for me.
Yes, I'm there.
So I think all of our listeners are wondering, okay, so if you're the turtle, Dave, then Claudia, what are you?
Oh, no, I hate to admit it, but I react more like the skunk. Because when I feel put down or misunderstood or devalued, what I want to do is just to make the guy stink.
Yeah.
So just stink him a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, some people like a skirtle. That's a turtle. You make the other person stink, and then you run and get in your shell. That's pretty bad. But we use the animals because it's just a fun way for couples to identify. There's the beaver that gets busy, and, when conflict comes around, they just take on another project at work. The chameleon, that is the yielder, and the pleaser, and that's the walk-away wife who at 30 years of marriage says, honey, don't love you anymore, bags packed, out of here, bye. And he's just blown away. What happened was she was a chameleon, and she just
adapted over the years.
Never spoke up for herself.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so there's the...
So there's the gorilla and the moose and a few other animals out there.
You got to read the book to get the rest of them, right?
So the point is, how do you normally handle conflict? But the better question is, how would you like to handle conflict? And, that's the purpose of that date, is to start working towards where you would like to be, not where you are right now. And so, I've learned, I'm still a turtle, but I've learned that it's much to my benefit to come out of my shell. And
great rewards.
Great rewards, yeah.
I love it.
So on that
I get
day,
intimacy coupons sometimes for coming out of my shell. So, hey, it's good stuff.
So
it's just an adult audience, isn't it?
Right.
A lot of our listeners are in the military, and I think this is a unique challenge when you're talking about deployment and just being apart from each other. You guys have worked with a lot of military families over the years. What are some of the tips, suggestions, advice that you would give them based on this very important concept of dating?
We love doing things with the military, and we're so glad that they do utilize our 10 Great Dates program around the country. We would suggest, and can we sort of tailor this to those who are being deployed or coming back from deployment, because
that's the normal.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
We just want to honor you. We want to thank you. We're so appreciative for what you're doing for our country, and you are our heroes. And if there's any way we can encourage you in your marriage, we want to do that.
Yeah.
And so how 10 Great Days has been used on some military installations is the first 5 dates help couples prepare for that deployment. We've talked about 3 of them, the making your relationship a priority, and learning to talk and learning to handle conflict. And the next is appreciating one another, that affirmations that you need before you're going to be apart.
How can you encourage each other even while you're apart?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the 5th date is finding unity and diversity, coming up with your game plan. We're going to be apart for
13 months,
whatever it is.
Depending on what branch you're in and how long.
What is our game plans to stay connected while you're gone? And then when they return from deployment, if right now your spouse is getting ready to come home, then the last 5 dates really help you integrate into the family and the community.
So date 6 is building we're working on your sexual relationship, and that's usually number 1 on everybody's mind, when you come back. And so it's just, but you've been apart for a while, so how do you talk about that? How can you express, where you are, what you're feeling, what your expectations are, and that type of thing. And so that's where we start. And then the next one is
working together.
Yeah. So one's been deployed, the other one's been in control of the home and all that. So now the
working
deployed
together and
spouse,
sharing responsibility.
is back. So how do you work out? So one's been in control of everything, so now the other spouse is there. So how do you start working to share those responsibilities? Sometimes that can be tricky.
And also, another date in the last 5 is balancing your roles as parents and partner. And that's, as what Dave said, reintegrating back into the family. One has had to be mom and dad, for the whole time. The other has been gone. So that's learning how to balance that again.
Yeah.
And then date 9 is developing spiritual intimacy. We come from many different faith backgrounds, but we all have core beliefs of what we believe about life, death, God, children, marriage, family, taking care of our world, and what core beliefs do we have in common. It's just a really good time for them to connect on a deeper level. And then the last one is having an intentional marriage, and that's setting goals for the next few months, years. So that's one way it has been used with military families.
And so have you seen actual, because I'm just thinking of the separation, right? I mean, you're talking 13 months. It can be shorter, but most of the time that's a long time to be apart.
Yeah, it is.
Do you recommend these couples actually doing some of these dates apart? Maybe by
Skype Fort Bragg,
in North Carolina.
In North Carolina, what they have done, they've given a copy of the 10 Great Days to Energize Your Marriage to the deploying spouse and a copy to the spouse staying at home. And then they've arranged Skype and what's the other
FaceTime.
One? FaceTime, just other ways that they can actually see each other and have their dates, even while they're deployed. And it seems to have worked really well. I know Fort Bragg, one of the things they discovered is that the spouse coming back, sometimes it's better for them to go to a more neutral location for like a week or something like that before they actually are reunited.
And have one more Skype date during that time, and then they're back together.
That's good.
So there's just a lot of possibilities how that can be used. And
it's that intentionality, right? It's just
intentionality
about it. Yeah. You guys talk about in your book the importance of the attitude coming into these dates. Tell us a little bit about the ground rules that you would lay out for a couple who's thinking about putting this into effect.
Well, I think it's always good to have some ground rules and to have the attitude that you're really going to enjoy being together. And you can actually, if you have a dating attitude, you can turn a lot of things you just have to do, even running errands, into dates. But ground rules.
Ground rules. I think the first one is to talk about, on your date, you want to have fun and you want to talk about your relationship. You don't want to talk about the kids. You don't want to talk about the visa bill that came, last week. You don't want to talk about your mother-in-law. I mean, a lot of things you can talk about. Those are business meetings. That's not a date. Right. And so have a business meeting to handle those issues. But on your date, you want to focus on each other and do something that you both really enjoy. A lot of times wives will say, well, I can't get my husband to go on a date. And we say, well, what are some things that he would really like to do? Now, maybe it's not on top of your list, but something he would really like to do. Then, just organize around something he would like to do. And you're going out, you're having a chance to, to have some FaceTime and to talk and have a little fun. And it all works.
Another ground rule is to stay positive.
Yeah.
This is not a time to tell your spouse everything you've been collecting, your little list. Leave your list at home. Be positive and be future focused. Talk about what you want to do together in the future. Just some little tips like that will help make the dates much more positive.
Yeah.
That's good. That's great advice. Let's move to the $10 great dates. I mean, I think this one's really fascinating to me because I think, oftentimes we extrapolate dating with the idea that you got to spend all this money to make it happen. And, being more the penny pincher, I think this is great. My wife's looking for the next book, which is the $100 great date. And it sounds like you guys are working on that one. But let's start with the $10 great date. And tell me about kind of what was the vision behind that and maybe some 3 practical dates that could happen for a couple.
we came up with this idea because, with our economy, everybody is really, most people are very limited.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when we say, why don't date? Well, it just costs too much. You have to pay a babysitter, then dinner and a movie. And, we just drop $100 before you know it.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to provide a resource for couples out there who just really want to have fun together but don't want to spend a pile of money. Mm-hmm. And so every date in the book, there are 52 dates, and they all can be pulled off for $10 or less.
Mm-hmm. And you've tested that.
Yeah.
We have tested most of them.
Most of them. So somebody has done all of them.
Either us or the Larsons have done most all of the dates.
That's
our
great.
Friend, but we have different categories. They're adventure great dates, out on the town great dates, also dates at home. Sometimes you just can't find a sitter. You can't work it out. And so there's some dates you can have at home, outdoor dates, marriage, pick-me-up dates. That's dates where you're sort of working on your relationship. Mm-hmm. Of course, they're romantic.
Of course.
Okay, so give me 3 of your favorite. I mean, like actual dates that could be done over the weekend.
Okay.
Okay.
One of our favorite dates is we can call it the walk and talk date or going on a hike date, because we both like to go out, and we communicate better when we're moving, when I'm moving, when we're doing something. And so, if we're out.
Well, guys tend to relax by doing something, gals by talking. So if you're doing a date where it's an activity but you can still talk, then you've got a real winner.
Mm-hmm. So
our walk and talk date.
Walk and talk date. And each of the dates, it has sort of like the dating idea, then, what to do on your date, and actually some topics, some things to talk about while you're actually on your date. And then once you get back, there's a dating, what do we call it?
We call it just like a great date takeaway.
Yeah, the takeaway is sort of something to think about. Okay, so you've talked about this on your date. You're back home now. So what between now and your next date, these are some things you can think about as it relates to the date you just had. So it keeps you sort of thinking about, where your dating is going, what you're going to do next, on your next date.
And like each date has the dating idea, before your date, tips, on your date, and then talking points. Mm. So it'll stay positive. So this is the take a hike date. And then the great date takeaway, taking the time to walk together encourages a new appreciation of nature and the wonderful world God has made. Looking back at your marriage, marvel at where you've come from in your relationship, and then look forward to where you're going in the future. So there's this little takeaway. So that's one favorite.
That's one. Another date, is what we call a card shop date. You go to a card shop, and these cards can be pretty expensive. And what we do, we just go and we'll just look at different cards, and we'll pick out maybe 3 or 4 that we think really expresses what we'd like to express to our mate. And so we get them, and we we read them to each other, and then after we read them to each other and appreciated it, we just put them back. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
And but there was one card that I really wished that I had bought. We were in San Francisco getting ready to do a conference. We had a little extra time. We went into a card shop, and it was right before Valentine's, I think. And so anyway, this one card, it had on the outside, it had just a couple sitting in a convertible. The hood was up and steam was coming out of the engine, and you opened it up, and it said, "I'm still hot for you." I wished I bought that card, because that expressed my feeling.
That's great.
You can do an out-of-towners date. Pretend like you're a tourist in your own hometown and see what you can discover. We live in the Washington, D.C. area, and there's just so much that we have not seen here. So we have tourist dates and go downtown D.C. and go through a museum we haven't visited yet.
Right.
Just pretend like we're a tourist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes most of us live in places and we don't go see what's actually there, and until we have visitors who come and want to go.
You can have a bucket list date and just make a list of all those things that you would like to do together. Mm-hmm. And that can be fodder for future dates.
Yeah. I love the simplicity of this. It doesn't take a bunch of creativity and a bunch of work that has to go into it. Not that that's not a good idea. I mean, those are things that we should be exploring and purposeful in our marriages. But I love just the simplicity of it, because I think so often it just needs to happen, right? I know my wife and I, when there's been those moments where there's conflict, we find that oftentimes it's based on that we just haven't had any time to connect, and we need to get away from the daily grind, the kids and all that kind of stuff, just to spend time together. So I love the simplicity of this, but also the purpose and intentionality behind it. You guys have done a great job of kind of really structuring this in a way that it's not just hey, we're going on a date and that was fun, but there's actually something that there's a walk away, take away that you've developed around it. So
we think it's sort of this sweet spot of dating, because you do have the heavier dating programs like our 10 Great Dates.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you have a lot of frivolous books and lists you'll see on Facebook. Here are 10 great or 20 fantastic dating ideas. And, some of them, we could do that. But some are just, a lot of them are just silly.
Yeah.
And so we feel like the $10 Great Dates hits that sweet spot where it's fun dates.
Yes.
Doesn't take a lot of effort to do, doesn't take a lot of money to do, but it has a takeaway. It has a something redeeming for your marriage relationship. It helps you connect on a deeper level. I think we're all looking for
absolutely.
Couldn't
agree more. And actually, these are the books. They're going to be right down below this video, access to all the different books that we've talked about. And you can get in contact with Dave and Claudia at their website. So that will be posted down below. And I just want to say thank you to both of you and the life work that you guys have put into this, and the number of couples that this has helped. I know my wife and I, we love your guys' stuff. And she is looking for that $100 date book. So let me know when that comes out.
That will be our next book.
But again, thank you. And we appreciate all that you're doing.
No, we really appreciate the opportunity. And again, we really honor and appreciate those who are serving our country in such a significant way and sacrificing a lot in their relationship in order to do what they do. And we hope that what we've shared will be some encouragement to you.
All right. Take care.